The Wreck-It of Ragnarok chapter 92. You guys know what the deal is at this point. Been smashing that like button. This one, let's try for a goal of 300 likes. I think it's the most I ever have asked for, but I know you guys can do it and I appreciate all the support. Let's do it. Here we go. We are kicking right into Okita's backstory. We start off seeing Okita standing near a tree. Now these might be cherry blossoms, I'm not sure. He's standing next to this tree with a void in front of him. I still have not fulfilled my promise to Kondo-san. That's what he's thinking. We flash back now to when Okita was a kid. He's walking around these streets with Kondo and it seems like he's troubled. He says, "I'm so sorry, Kondo-san. I messed up the training camp again. Whenever I turn into that thing, Onigo, the demon child, I always lose myself. Before I knew it, I completely messed that guy up. I've also caused a lot of trouble for you, Kondo-san." We get a montage of Okita just destroying everybody in the dojo and Kondo having to apologize for things. Kondo walks over, pats his head and says, "Don't worry about that, Soji. That was the decision I made to myself when I took you under my wing. Even if that includes the demon child thing, I accept and take everything about you," with a smile on his face. Okita still looks sad and says, "I understand that this is not good, but in the end, I'm not able to stop. In the end, I'm just a monstrous murderer. I don't think I'll ever be able to become a noble samurai like you." We see that Kondo's expression turns somber. He says, "Good grief. Soji, do you know what the bu in Bushi means?" Bushi means samurai. Okita says, well, is it the power to kill enemies?" Kondo says, "Well, I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but what I mean is staking one's life on one's own beliefs. That person can die with a smile on their face. That is what a real samurai is." This resonates with Okita. He thinks die with a smile. He questions it. Kondo says, "That's right. Everything is fine. It's alright, Okita Tsuji. One day you will understand. Someday. That I am sure of." He puts Okita on his shoulders and the two continue to walk through the streets. Okita says, "Kondo-san, can someone like me, a monster, really become a samurai? Not a rampaging monster with killing power, but a true samurai who fights with conviction." And Kondo's like, "Why are you complaining and talking so much? At a time like this, all you should say is, I will do it." And the kid Okita Tsuji says, "Alright, right. I will become one," and they fist bump. It's a promise. We cut back to the arena. "I promised." Heimdall screaming on the mic. The one who took control over the clash of swords was none other than Susanoo no Mikoto, as you see Okita laying in a heap in front of Susanoo after that huge attack from last chapter. Susanoo smirks and falls back. He lands on the ground and he says, "I'm boiling over here," seeming satisfied with what he had done. He believes that he has won the fight at this point. The crowd for the god side cheers loudly. The Shinsengumi, the humans, watch on the big screen as Okita lays, seemingly lifeless, on the ground. Kondo clutches his fist and screams out, "Tsuji!" And at that moment, Okita grabs his sword once more. Susanoo surprised. Tsuji says, "Kondo-san, not yet. I still have yet to fulfill my promise." He sits up, sticks his sword into the ground to pull himself back to his feet. Susanoo can't believe his eyes. Heimdall can't believe his. Whoa, no way. Even at this state, so close to death, he's still trying to stand up. The Shinsengumi can't believe it. They're like, "Are you for real? He can still do this? Okita Tsuji, what kind of a man are you?" And Kondo says, "Tsuji, he's at a loss for words." Okita says, "Until I give everything I have, I cannot die." We got back to a little bit further in his life, back into the flashback. 4th year of the KO period. The year was 1868. He's training with his sword, but you can see a lot of distress on his face. He says, I have to be useful to Kondo-san, to everyone." As he grew older, Okita Tsuji became the captain of the 1st unit of the Shinsengumi. He was praised as the strongest swordsman of the Bakumatsu. However, the Boshin War, which began in the 4th year of the KO era, amidst the final battles of the Shinsengumi, Kondo Isami and his comrades found themselves struggling. At the very moment when they needed his sword the most, the strongest of their faction, Okita Tsuji, was confined to a bed. We see him collapse. Blood spurts from his mouth. Struggles to hold on to his sword. This is all because of the fatal disease, tuberculosis, that plagued him. He thought to himself, "Everyone, I want to help everyone. I want to fight alongside you guys. I am not done yet. I have yet to use everything I have." Following the incident in 1864, Okita Tsuji of the Shinsengumi fell ill and was forced to leave the front lines. It is said that he quietly passed away on a tatami mat at the home of a gardener named Hyogoro, where he had been hiding to recover. All he wanted in those days, day after day, was to fight alongside his comrades. He believed the day would come. He continued to swing his sword, continued to train, but every day he trained, the sword seemed to get heavier and heavier. He screamed out. He couldn't believe it. Felt hopeless, useless. Everyone's waiting for me, he thought, as he lay on the ground. At that point, it looks like he's plagued with a heart attack. He spits up blood. We get a close-up of his eye, and he sees his reflection staring back at him. But this reflection is the Onigo. The Onigo is the demon that resides within Okita, the most ferocious and strongest battle instinct which has dwelled within him since his birth. Onigo says, "It's been a while, Suji." We get some awesome panels. As a price for his demonic strength, it has been continuously consuming his body. "You've lost so much weight. It's almost time now. Almost time to die. Even after you fell ill, I was waiting for my chance. What a shame. His chance to go all out." Okita says, "I am going to die, right, Onigo-san? You see, I still haven't been able to fulfill the promise to Kondo-san. That's why. And he gets cut off by Onigo. He was going to say, "That's why I want to continue living, that's why I want to continue fighting." But Onigo says, "That's useless, Suji. Your body is falling apart. We won't be able to fight side by side again. Don't even speak on it anymore." Okita starts crying and says, "Not yet." But Onigo dissolves away. "I still want to help Kondo-san, Hijikata, everyone from the Shinsengumi. Not yet. Not now. I still want to swing my sword even more with everyone. I have so much more to give. Please wait. I don't want to die yet." This is extremely sad. The panels are incredible. It looks like he's falling by that tree with the blossoms into the void. Tears in his eyes, falling away from everybody that he loves and cares for. You get an awesome shot of his palm reaching out for the Shinsengumi, and they can't hear him, they can't see him, and he fades away. Just a bit more, not yet, not yet. And it fades to black. We cut back to the battlefield now, with Okita standing in front of Susanoo, who's still sitting on the ground. He can't believe it. Heimdall says, "I can't believe it." Okita says, "I want to fight more." The near-dead Okita Suji, says Heimdall, stood up. The Shinsengumi erupts. He stood back up. He's back on his feet. Hell yeah. What's that though? The color of Okita's eye is blue, so it's usually red. Now it's blue. His body is not the same as it was back then, says Okita. Now I can finally go all out. That is why Onigo too should be completely fine this time. We then see Onigo emerge next to Okita. Very similar to how the Valkyries usually emerge next to their fighter. It actually seems as if Onigo might be taking the place of his Valkyrie as the demon, because we still have not got a Valkyrie this chapter, and it doesn't seem likely we're going to at this point. Onigo says, "Even if we somehow manage to beat Susanoo, Suji, you will die." And Okita just smiles and says, "I don't care. That's a samurai for you." Onigo says, "Samurai?" He starts laughing and says, "That's good. I see. Me and Suji using everything we have for once. Alright then. Me and you, Suji. We will die together." In an amazing shot, Okita drops his cloak that was around his body. We get to see side by side Onigo and Suji holding the swords, and the blue flames erupt out of Okita's eyes. You see aura going everywhere, and it actually erupts so far that it reaches the clouds, reaches into the sky. The most aura we've ever seen from Okita, and it is a new color, blue, representing the Shinsengumi. Now the thing about this is that it's super weird, like the damage that he took from that slash, because you would have thought that that slash last chapter would have just cleaved him in half if it hit him this clean, but we don't really even get to see a scar, so this is kind of weird, not gonna lie. But it's still an awesome moment with Onigo, as Okita says, "Everything, I will give everything I have." Him and Onigo both scream that out at the same time. One of the Shinsengumi guys says, "What in the world is this sword pressure? I can't see the bottom of it at all. Is this really Suji?" Kondo starts bawling. He says, "I've always believed when Okita Suji said that one day he would become a true samurai." So full circle moment from the backstory. Okita finally fulfills his promise to Kondo to be a true samurai by Kondo's definition, to stake one's life for one's beliefs, to fight with your life on the line with everything that you have. Amazing shot of Okita holding his katana. It says "Demon Child Scatter," seems to be the name of the technique. Could be some translations with that. Okita says the captain of the first unit of the Shinsengumi will make his move. Absolute beast with the blood all over him, pointing the sword, full conviction, fully accepting that he will die at the end of this fight. But one detail that is pretty weird is that it looks like that second katana that was on his hip is just disappeared. So I don't know why it was even there. I guess it was just like an illustration choice, unless they were trying to insinuate that the second katana represented Onigo potentially, because like Onigo has his own sword, it seems like, when he's next to Okita. But obviously they just merge into one body. I guess we're supposed to suspend our disbelief here. I'm not really sure what the deal is with all this, but I figured I'd note it. Okita takes his stance, stares down Susanoo, who is befuddled by all this information he's taking in. He himself starts crying now and says, "This is a reward. Descending from my home, all those days swinging my sword alone." He stands back up to his feet. You see the tears reaching the ground. All that has finally been rewarded. At this point, we get to see a shot of his family watching the fight. And it actually looks like his family is now somehow in the crowd. Like beforehand, it looked like they were watching from home. So I went back and double checked for chapter 90, and I actually was wrong on that. It does look like they've been in the arena the whole time. I just missed it when I was reading that chapter, I guess, because it's so like in the corner that you can just see other stands, and it looks so similar to their throne room in their home world, and I got confused because they were watching it on the big screen. But the nuance of it was, you know, he had sacrificed everything for them, and now they finally get to see it. Now everybody gets to see why he made the sacrifice he did. The true essence of swordsmanship. He said he dreamed of someday using the swordsmanship that he had been honing for so long. We get shots of Hephaestus, we get shots of that other goddess that helped forge his sword, all the blacksmiths that work together. I am now convinced that my divine life was meant for this very moment. He takes his shoes off, which is interesting. What is he gonna do with that? Is that gonna be so he can get more force from the ground? We know that that's been key to his stance, his drawing force, planting his feet, but now with one of his feet half off, maybe he's doing this so he can get more grip. He walks toward Okita, again with tears in his eyes. Okita is now taken aback, and he says, "Okita Tsuji, thank you." And that is the chapter. It's a really good chapter as far as the backstory. I knew this would have to happen. We'd have to get this backstory explaining, you know, Okita's death, although it was already alluded to, and obviously there's that spinoff. I don't like the plot holes of the katana disappearing and some of the other things I mentioned, but it's shaping up for an epic culmination, epic conclusion to this fight. I wish that there was some explanation as to how Okita even survived that last attack, because they were hyping these things up, and I talked about this in my other videos like last month, that they were hyping up Susanoo's slashes as like one-shot kills, and even Okita was basically conceding that. So that shot literally landed as clean as it was gonna land, and you're telling me Okita didn't even lose a limb, he didn't really take that massive amount of damage, like he's just bleeding, but like we really don't even see a scar on him. So that part is kind of annoying. That said, I do think that the backstory was beautiful. Definitely up there as one of the saddest in the series. Obviously Jack the Ripper's was very sad, but I enjoyed it. No real fighting this chapter, no real action, but I assume next month seems like this is going to be the concluding chapter to me. Obviously we had those reports that I talked about in my spoiler videos that were wrong. Earlier last month, they thought the fight was going to end this month. It could end next month. We'll have to wait and see. But can't wait to see how they finish it. We'll see how this all shakes out. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and I'll see you guys. Peace.